everyone, and welcome back to my studio. Today we're going to continue in something we started last week, talking about what's happening around here when we're not on camera and giving you kind of a behind the scenes idea of what happens to make beautiful quilts like this happen. And also talking about the struggles somewhat in trying to do this and work and maintain your home and have your family as well that you are paying attention to and giving them the love and support that they need. So today's video is going to be pretty short. There wasn't a whole lot going on here in the studio this week. I'm working on a project where I'm designing a new quilt top of my own and making circles out of various blue fabrics, and I did not get as much of that done as I had wanted to, but that's how things go sometimes. It's also a holiday weekend, so there are a lot of other things going on, and we've had terrible weather. We had nice warm temperatures and sunny skies, and then we had 2 or 3 days where it just rained. Yesterday it rained all day long, and it was very cool. And so it was one of those days that where you really didn't want to do much. It was great for things that needed to be done inside, and that's kind of where I used my time a bit around the house. I had wanted to do some more gardening because we are in the spring of the year, and that's the time to get those things done in preparation for the summer. But with rain all day long and cold temperatures, that didn't happen. I did notice that some of the iris bulbs that I've planted have started coming up, so that's a great thing. I was a little concerned about how old they were, but it was something that I soaked the bulbs. I planted irises, caladiums, and a couple of bare root hostas 2 weeks ago, and I took the extra step of soaking those for about an hour in some warm water. And so far so good. The irises are already up above the mulch, and I'm hoping that the caladiums, as soon as the weather gets warm and stays warm, the soil temperature will come up and those will start coming up as well. It was my first year in overwintering the bulbs or roots or rhizomes. I'm not sure exactly what you call the growing part, the root of that plant, but it's my first year in overwintering those outside of the ground. So we'll see how those go. But all in all, most of the plants have rebounded from that cold winter temperature we had. So things are looking good. I've got a couple of hydrangeas that look a little iffy. They're still not putting out any green at all. So I'm watching those to see if they'll need to come out. But we'll wait another month and see what happens for those. But what we did is we did go shopping, and that was exciting. So I wanted to show you some of the things I purchased, what I'm going to be using them for, and then we'll wrap up this video. Like I said, there's not a whole lot today to share. There wasn't a whole lot that went on. Sometimes when holidays come, your hobbies are the first thing that kind of take a hit on having enough time to do those. And because I didn't have any time off around this particular holiday this year, that's what happened with me. So I went to Joann's, and I think I mentioned before that I don't have a Joann's really close to me. It is pretty good. I would say a good 35-minute trip just to get to Joann. So usually when we're in that area, we try to do a few things that are only available to us there, and that was the case yesterday. So the little trip to Joann's was 2.5, 3 hours. So you can understand why I don't like to do that very often, but I saw they had a sale, so that's why I decided to go. So one of the projects we're working on, I'm sorry if this bag is a little loud, is an EPP project that I have videos on Wednesday about that. And while we were at Joann's, I decided to go ahead and get a piece of fabric that I'm going to use more than likely as a border around the pieces that we're doing in EPP, and this was as close of a match as I could get. The purple itself has a little more of a red tone to it. This one is called Crocus. Is it Crocus Purple or Crocus? And it's a Kona fabric. So I got just 1.5 yards of that. I think that'll be plenty to put a border around it. And then I'll likely put a probably just a plain white backing on that. I think I have enough fabric in my stash that I can do that. But while I was there, they also had their basic quilting fabric on sale for $4.99 a yard. So I went ahead and bought some of that. There have been times when I've bought a whole bolt, but I haven't really been able to determine everything that I want to work on in the next year. So I'm going to hold off buying a bolt until probably around October, November. I think they have a really good sale right around Thanksgiving, so if I decide to buy a whole bolt, that's probably when I'll do it. But what I bought yesterday was just a plain white fabric, and I think this is so classic. So I'll check the ticket and see for sure, see if it tells us. I find, there it is, sorry. I find that Joann's receipts are some of the hardest in the world to read. Okay, the purple was Kona Crocus Purple, and the white is the So Classic Solid White is all it's called. And that I got 6 yards of. So there's plenty there to do the backing of that purple quilt, the purple EPP quilt that we're working on, and then probably I would say at least 4 yards to work on any other quilt that we make. I may use this white as the background for the quilt I'm designing with the blue circles. And speaking of blue circles, while I was there, I also picked up 2 fat quarters in a blue that did not look to me like it was anything close to what I already had. So that was great. It was on sale too. I keep dropping my receipt. And those are usually $2.99 for a fat quarter. Personally, I think that's a little high. Now they were on sale for $2.40, so they were a little less expensive. I think $2.40 for a fat quarter is high because you don't have the option of getting a big piece of it. So if it's something you really truly like, you're limited in what you can do with a fat quarter. And a lot of times I find that the quality on the fat quarters isn't quite as high as what you would see in their standard fabric. For example, this fat quarter compared to this white fabric, the thread count on this, you can tell by looking at it that it's considerably different. The texture of the fat quarter fabric is a little rougher, so it probably has a little more sizing on it. And frankly, the texture of this white is very smooth. It kind of fools me because it feels more like a blend. It has that nice soft feeling on it. You don't feel the ripples and the ridges of the threads weaving in the fabric. So I'm very pleased with that. And I think that I used that on another quilt that I worked on recently, and I was very happy with the way it came out. And then while I was there, I was very grateful to find that Joann's is still selling this thread. This is my absolute favorite thread for quilting with. It is called the Americana quilting thread. There's 150 yards on each spool. It is a glazed, or as they say, glacé cotton. I think that just means it's glazed. It's thicker than regular thread. I don't know how it compares with a weight because it doesn't tell you that It's 137 meters if you are working under the metric system. It's 99 cents a yard. Now, I will say that there have been times you get a spool and it will kink up on you if you get that thread too long. But if you keep it at a length and you're working on it and you're careful about how you're going in and out of the fabric, I don't have any problem with it. I have learned that my thread length needs to be a little bit shorter when I'm quilting with it. It holds up really well. I like that little extra bulk to the thread. I like the fact that it's glazed. It goes in easy. You're not having to really tug on it. I will tell you that I do not use a rocking stitch when I quilt. That's for a specific reason. I have a lot of problems with my thumbs, and the rocking stitch relies on your thumb quite a bit, and so it really just doesn't work for me. I found that I do better in what they term a stab stitch. It is more work, and certainly if you have the option to go one way or the other, I think you'll find that a rocking stitch is faster. It's probably a little bit easier to do, but because of a little limitation I have in my thumb, I'm not very successful with that. So for me, this works great. And there was some talk at one time that it was being discontinued or that Joann's was no longer going to sell it. So I was very thankful. The last time I was in there, they had it, and today, not today, this weekend when I went in, they had it. So I went ahead and grabbed 5 more spools of that just to have it on hand. If I didn't already have some, I probably would have bought much more, but I do have a good bit already. Now, the one limitation I will tell you is I think they only make it in about 8 or 10 colors, and they are very what you would call traditional early American quilting colors. Muted, they don't have a gray. They have a brown and a green and a red, and then they have a blue that's kind of a dusty blue, not quite as bright as like a Wedgwood blue or a Tiffany blue. It's more of a muted blue. And I do have a limitation that I can't pick the color that I want to use with quilts sometimes, and I will revert back to that white, and generally that's been very good. So that was good, and I picked up a little packet of needles because I was running a little short, and that's about it. They were having a sale, and I think everything but the thread and the needles was on sale, so I had a little extra coupon that if you got a certain number of dollars off if you spent a certain amount. So that was good, and we just take what we have and move on from here. Now next week we are going to be working more on the EPP purple quilt. For me, in my progress, I mentioned before that I'm a little ahead of where the videos go, and I am getting to a point where all of my pieces have come to the size that I want it to be. So if you haven't joined us yet with that, I would encourage you to go back and look at the first video, pick up your supplies, and get started. The videos will always be there, so you can go back and look and follow those videos with my progress. And I'm going to go ahead and keep moving on with my project and get all the pieces together. I think maybe I might get that accomplished this week. And then from there, start thinking about and start doing the borders on that quilt so that we can kind of wrap it up here as far as filming goes in the next couple of weeks, and then they will be out there for you to look at, and I can start a new project, which is always a good thing. Love a new project. So that's where we are this week in the quilting studio, and I'm going to spend some time this afternoon cleaning up because it always needs a little hand with the tidying. It's kind of like having a room with toddlers because everything finds its way out of its place by the end of the week, and it's time to tidy up and start again. So have a great weekend or great week, however you fall watching this video, and we'll see you again soon. I do plan to do these for another 2 to 3 weeks to see what kind of interest we have in them, and then we'll decide at that time if we want to continue on. So if you like this and it's helpful to you, give us a thumbs up, like us on Facebook. We post pictures there, and be sure to subscribe to our channel on YouTube so we can know you're out there and you're looking for new information on quilts, tips, and tools to help you along that journey. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time in the studio, Shamrock Quilt Studio. Thanks. Bye-bye.